What is going on, guys? Welcome to The Witcher 2 Assassin of Kings Enhanced Edition review. Last night we had just finished our hour-and-a-half finale. It was insane. I recommend you guys go check it out and check out the whole playthrough if you guys enjoy these commentary, walkthroughs and playthroughs and whatnot. We're going to be continuing with The Witcher 3 very soon. Like I said, I'm going to be starting a few other games, but today we're going to be talking about The Witcher 2 Assassin of Kings. What do I think about this game overall, and what is my overall rating at the end of the day of this game. So let's first starters by just saying this. I need to address this by saying this game is an upgrade from The Witcher 1. Stylistically, pretty much in every single aspect. There were a certain few little miscellaneous things I liked more about Witcher 1, like for example, looting was just a little minor thing that I liked more. I liked the inventory a little bit more in Witcher 1. You know, there's very small things like that, but ultimately, in pretty much every single major function or aspect of this game, I enjoyed it more than The Witcher 1. Witcher 2, for me, we're going to say it right now, 8 out of 10. It's an 8 out of 10. Our previous rating was going to be about maybe a 7.5 out of 10. Actually, we'll say 7.5 out of 10. The Witcher 1 was a 6 out of 10. For me, I believe I gave it a 6 out of 10 in my last review, and The Witcher 2 will be a 7.5 out of 10. I would pop that up on screen right now, but I'm going to just leave it as is. What did I like about the game? Well, for starters, we'll talk about things that I didn't like. The pacing in certain areas of the game felt a little off. Other areas felt like things were speeding up. We were getting to the point much quicker. The side objectives made sense, and there were just a lot of things that made sense early on in the game. The biggest complaint I have about the pacing was actually Chapter 3. I felt like Loch Muin was too rushed. I felt like there was a lot more to be had, and there was more chapters to be had throughout the game. It just felt like a lot more condensed and shorter than it should have been, comparative to The Witcher 1 that had, I felt like, a very more fleshed out story in terms of like, alright, we're getting from point A to point B to point C, and we're gonna have to, figure out what much means. I mean, there were obviously pacing issues in The Witcher 1, don't get me wrong. I talked about that a lot in the first review, but the pacing overall felt a little bit, not want to say worse, but pretty much as bad in The Witcher 1. That's probably one of my biggest complaints about the game. It just didn't feel as fleshed out pacing-wise. One other big complaint I had about The Witcher 2 was the combat felt very, how do I put this? It was definitely better. It was definitely better, more free flow, more freestyle, but I felt like, if you guys noticed in the playthrough, a lot of times my keybinds would get stuck, the inputs wouldn't really work, there were things that were basically slowing me down in the middle of a battle and fights, and that really did not feel good at all. Using the bombs felt very awkward as well, like when I tried and throw them, they would kind of like awkwardly throw in a different direction, so ultimately a lot of the combat itself just felt not finished, not complete. It wasn't very like flowing, it wasn't very a flow kind of style combat. It felt, I mean, like I said, it felt better than the Witcher 1 combat for sure, where they improved upon like, the one input slash, and then you'd have to, but ultimately, still not the best combat it could be for sure. Definitely there was a lot lacking there. It felt like, every single time you went to make a move, the enemy, you either had to parry block or this, and you were going to get hit regardless. So that's why I invested heavily in Quen, if you guys realize, going for my Deathless run, which we did complete, by the way. Hats off to us, another Deathless run. We're continuing our Deathless run into The Witcher 3. But regardless, still, it just felt very, very rough to play, and that's why I invested so much heavily into like, defenses and a more tank stamina driven, or vigor, vitality driven build, because it felt like I can get hit and killed at literally any moment. I also played on the hardest difficulty, which I did not like the difficulty level because basically it didn't really make things much harder. It just made things so that you would get one shot much easier. That being said, there were certain fights in the game, like for example the Leto fight we had at the beginning in Chapter 1. We did not fight him at the end because we did let him live. That felt pretty fleshed out for the most part. And there were a good amount of fights that felt pretty good. Like, I really liked the Karen fight. Actually, I thought the Karen fight was really, really good, where you have to like dodge the tentacles, and then you have to like look for the openings to, trap the tentacles and whatnot. But the dragon fight felt very bad. There were a lot of fights in the game that felt very, very rough. The mage fights kind of felt a little awkward. All they would do was use their shields and teleport, and they didn't really do much outside of that. So that felt a little weird as well. But ultimately, I gotta say, I think the combat is improved. I still wouldn't give it a high rating by any means. If I were to give the combat a rating, and maybe be like, I mean, The Witcher 1's combat was pretty bad. I gotta say, it was pretty bad. So maybe The Witcher 1 was like a 3 out of 10, and the combat in Witcher 2 was like a 5 out of 10. Maybe 4 out of 10, 5 out of 10. It was slightly improved, but it wasn't like that much greater, and there can be a lot more that could have been done to make it much better. Next up, what do we got? Well, the story. Let's talk about the story really quick because the story is obviously the overarching premise of The Witcher 2. The story I really enjoyed. I thought the story was very good. I loved Leto as a villain. I thought he was definitely the best villain we had thus far. I liked him much better than the Grand Master. I liked him much better than the Professor. I liked him much better um, than the mage in The Witcher 1. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank on his name, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I really liked him. I thought Leto was a fantastic villain, and he was really worthwhile chasing throughout the entire game for the most part. I also really liked the company we kept, right? I liked Vernon and staying with Vernon up until chapter 2, and then we obviously sided with Yorvith, but I loved Yorvith as a character. I thought Yorvith as a character was a very gray, flawed character that we can really expand upon and see the development, which we did see towards the latter half of the game, where he kind of like learned about better ways to go about fighting for his his goals and whatnot, and for what he wanted to bring achieved for his elven people. So I thought that was really cool. Yeah, no, I really did enjoy the story. I thought the story was a very good driving point, and that's one of the things I want to say. The story in The Witcher I've found thus far is really the main selling point, right? It's got such a rich, driven story with amazing characters and ultimately really interesting intrigue in a lot of the dialogue and your plot points and what you decide to say and do and whatnot, and how certain dialogue options can affect certain quests. And obviously we have an entire different path we could have gone down with Roach. We have an entire different ending we could have got if we were to save Triss, right? I looked these things up, by the way, because we obviously finished the game. I didn't look at to see what actually happened because I'm probably going to do a replay eventually of the game. But I love that about the game. I love that your choices matter, and ultimately what you decide is entirely what you want to do, right? What you feel in the moment is right. And I stuck with my choices. I did what I did, and I think I got the ending that I wanted for the most part. Obviously, I think Lochmarine was going to end up being destroyed and having the mages killed, and we were going to have the Nilfgaardians come over and cross, into the north anyways. But regardless, I thought that was very good. I got to say, the story is basically near a 10 out of 10 for me. Maybe a 9 out of 10. In some parts, and maybe an 8 out of 10 in others, but ultimately, like, overall, I'd have to give it, like, maybe a 9 out of 10. It was just such a good story. And same with The Witcher 1. I love The Witcher 1 story, too, and that's the main driving force in these games. The combat can have flaws and be rough at certain points and not really make you want to continue, but then other times, you're continuing because the story's so good. And when you have a good story, that's a great, like, foundation and a building block for a really solid game. Next, let's talk about what else do we want to talk about? Well, we can talk about the music really quick. Again, the music in The Witcher 2, mwah, fantastic. You can hear it right now. I'm actually playing the OSTs and the soundtracks in the background, so you guys can take a listen there. But ultimately, the music is just really great as well. I have really no complaints about the music. I'm not really like a music aficionado or anything like that, but every single time, I love Vergen's music, which we're listening to right now. Just that nice. It sounds like some kind of maybe a violin or viola or cello or something like that being played right now, and then you have the string. Anyways, I just love the music. It really fit for every single chapter for the most part. Lochmarine didn't really have distinctive music too much, but Flots's music was really nice, and Eddern's music in Vergen was really nice. I wish also chapter 2 was a little bit longer. It felt like chapter 2 was also cut a little bit shorter. Alright, next thing to focus on besides the music is the developmental system, or the attribute system, or whatever you want to call it, that we had in The Witcher 2. And I actually liked it more than The Witcher 1. I thought the talent spend, fluctuation. Now, I had a mod, by the way. I have to preface this by saying I had a mod that gave me 2 talents instead of 1 to, max out more trees. So basically we were to max out 2 trees. We were to max out the alchemist tree and the magic tree. So that was obviously very good. I didn't go with swordsmith build or swordsman build. But I probably could have if I tried to get more levels. But then again, we tried to do every single quest in the game, and we, I think, 100% completed pretty much everything we needed to do, except for like 1 or 2 things here and there. But ultimately, yeah, I thought the builds were overall really good. I liked the diversity. I thought that in some of the cases there could have been a little bit more diversity, kind of like what I said back in The Witcher 1. It seems like there's still a lack of diversity in these skill trees. I think there could be room for a lot more, but I still did like a lot of what was brought to the table. And like I said, I thought it was an improvement and an upgrade from The Witcher 1. So that in alone in itself was really awesome as well. Yeah, and that's going to be a lot for most of the game. I thought, like I said, the story was really great. Some of the things I didn't like about it were obviously stated at the beginning, but ultimately I thought this is a upgraded game from The Witcher 1. Like I said, I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10, and originally I think I gave The Witcher 1 a 6 out of 10, so this is getting obviously better and better incrementally. There were still things, like I said, that I did not like, and I thought, like I said, the certain aspects of like dialogue or whatnot were not the most ideal, but ultimately at the end of the day, it was done to be, it was a more fleshed out the glossary panels and the like minor things like the journal entries and stuff like that. I really liked looking at those. Obviously, reading through the characters and whatnot, I thought that was a nice, better touch to the game itself. And we'll quickly talk about inventory stuff. Inventory stuff was decent. I liked how they did it, but I did not like the options they gave us to like organize stuff. I thought that was a really big miss. They could have given us way easier options to organize stuff. Also, potion diversity in the game was kind of lackluster as well. We pretty much had the same potions from last game. We had a few new additional potions, but I feel like there could be room for so many more great ideas for awesome Witcher potions to have in the game. Bomb diversity was fine. Trap diversity didn't really use too many traps. I did use them like early on, but then I got so much more powerful in like using magic and whatnot, and keeping obviously to our same signs and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. What else? I think, yeah, I mean that's pretty much most of it. If you guys have any questions about the game itself or what you guys are thinking about, I recommend just go play it. I recommend if you like The Witcher 1 or if you enjoyed even some degree of what the game offered, you're going to like The Witcher 2 because it's basically The Witcher 1 just better. Just better. And I'm hoping The Witcher 3 is even better than both of these games. But we're seeing a level up from the developers, right? Obviously the characters look better, the graphics were better, the fighting was better, even though it was still probably the worst part of the game. I would say the combat itself was probably the worst part, but yeah, that's going to be it, guys. We're giving Witcher 2 a 7.5 out of 10. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and if you guys are excited for The Witcher 3, because we are going to be hopping on that, probably later this year. Like I said, I got some other games I'm going to be doing walkthroughs of, and I really recommend you guys check out those games because those are going to be great playthroughs, and we're going to really enjoy ourselves for those. But once those are done, we're going to probably hop on the Witcher 3 train. So, again, thank you guys so much for watching and staying tuned through all of these episodes, and I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.